Welcome to Heli's Audio English. You're listening to Having a Baby with the Villain, a classic romance, where the story should have ended with a powerful CEO, a sweet heroine, and a perfect happily ever after. But instead, I ended up playing the villainess. According to the script, all I needed to do was complete the assigned mission, and I could return to the real world. The mission? Drug myself, seduce the male lead, then get thrown out by him, disgraced and forgotten forever. So I did it. The drug burned through my veins, my face flushed, my body heavy with heat as I collapsed onto the bed. And then, he appeared. A tall, imposing man stepped into the room. He pulled back the blanket, gripped my chin tightly, and whispered in a deep, raspy voice, "So eager, aren't you?" In that moment, the world spun wildly. Everything blurred, except for his burning eyes and dangerously handsome face. He pinned my wrists down. Wait. Something's wrong. Why isn't he throwing me out? The next morning, sunlight filtered through the curtains. I woke up aching all over, wrapped in the blanket, panic flooding my chest. And then I saw him. Lying beside me was a man with striking features. A high nose bridge, deep eyes, long lashes, and a crimson mole beneath his eyelid that made his beauty even more breathtaking. I froze. No, this wasn't just anyone. This was James Thornton, the man I had called Big Brother for over 10 years. My heart nearly stopped. I ran. Didn't even grab my shoes. Studio microphone. You're listening to Heli's Audio English. My God, if I hadn't run, would I have been ground to dust by him? James Thornton, the strongest villain in the story. And the one with the cruelest ending. No one in their right mind would feel safe after spending the night with him. Worse still, he didn't even like women. He came home drunk that night, reeking of alcohol. No one could have imagined all those hickeys on his skin were left by me. Panicked, I tried calling his adoptive mother. "Mom, is James home?" I asked. She paused, a little surprised. "He didn't come home last night after school." "Nia, your mom told me you didn't come back either. Where were you?" I couldn't answer. My brain shut down. Then I heard footsteps through the phone. "Nia, hold on. James just came back. I'll let him talk to you." "James, tell me the truth. Did you do something to Nia? Why is she calling you by name and not Big Brother anymore?" I hung up immediately. I was terrified. Guilty. To the world, James was a gentleman, refined, calm, respected in business. But those who knew the real story knew what lay beneath that perfect mask. Possessive, controlling, a little unhinged, and obsessively clean. If he ever found out it was me who ruined his purity, would I even live to see the next day? For half a month, I lived in fear, constantly on edge. I lost weight, couldn't eat. Just as I thought things were getting better, something felt wrong. Every time I ate, I threw up. His mother, worried, dragged me to the hospital. Then came the results. "Pregnant?" she gasped. "Nia, when did you get a boyfriend? Why didn't you tell me? Who is he? Do I know him?" I was speechless. Studio microphone. This is Heli's Audio English. P2. My adoptive mother was ecstatic. She kept pacing around me with joy. What if I told her that child growing inside me belonged to her son? No, I couldn't keep the child. Not if it was James Thornton's. After we left the hospital, I begged her not to tell anyone. Especially not James. That night, under the howling wind, I quietly took a taxi to the hospital again. Ending the life of an innocent child. Yes, it was cruel. But I didn't belong to this world. One day I would leave. Why burden a life that should have never existed? Besides, a child with no mother, no father. That was just too sad. The doctor looked at me calmly. "Do you want a medical abortion or surgery?" "Either is fine," I replied. "Whatever you think is best." "Do your family members know about this?" I placed my hand on my belly. "Number." The doctor looked up, his expression softening with sympathy. "Come back tomorrow for a full checkup. If everything is clear, I'll sign off on the procedure." I stepped out of the hospital, only to freeze in shock. A sleek Bentley Continental was parked by the curb. Leaning against it, arms folded, was James Thornton himself. What cruel coincidence was this? He glanced at the hospital report clutched in my hand. "Everything okay?" Just irregular periods." I lied without blinking, quickly stuffing the paper into my pocket. He stared at me silently, his eyes dark and unreadable. Had he figured it out? The wind blew cold. I shivered. Without a word, James leaned in and buttoned up my coat. 1 button. 2. 3. I felt like a lamb on the butcher's table, unable to escape, strangled by invisible hands. After fastening the last button, he whispered near my ear, "Nia, can you stop lying to me?" His voice was gentle, almost tender. But in the dim light, that crimson mole below his eyelid glowed like a thorned rose. Beautiful, but dangerous. In my mind, images flashed. Scenes from the novel, where the villain captured and tortured both the male and female leads. Cold sweat dripped down my back. James gently caressed my cheek. "You're trembling," he said softly. "Are you that cold?" Then he pulled me into the car. People wouldn't believe this. To outsiders, James Thornton looked like a calm and collected gentleman. But he wasn't always that way. I still remember the first time I met him. He was only 9. Back then, he was being beaten up by a group of boys. Lying face down in the mud, blood dripping from his face. I had been furious. "Stop it," I shouted. The ringleader glared at me, full of contempt. "What, you think you can protect this bastard?" I gasped. And then, I stomped my foot with an exaggerated sneer, channeling my inner villainess. "If you want to fight, fine. But if you ruin my outfit, do you even know how much this limited edition piece costs? Can you afford to replace it?" The kids panicked and scattered. I waved at the bodyguards in black suits to stand down. In the mud, James slowly pushed himself up with trembling arms. Blood and filth ran down his forehead. He was silent, his dark eyes calm but filled with pain. Honestly, he looked like a wounded little puppy. I remember wondering, was this really the future villain? He followed me around like a loyal dog after that. Wherever I went, he trailed behind, silently bleeding. If blood could be bottled and sold, James could supply an entire vampire steakhouse. I finally turned around. "Stop following me. You look pathetic. I'm not interested in you." Little James just stared at me, unblinking, unmoving. A chill ran down my spine. This felt familiar. That classic scene in a romance novel. The heroine saves the villain in his darkest moment. From then on, he becomes obsessed with her. A love he can never have, no matter how hard he tries. I suddenly snapped back to reality. Every cell in my body screamed, "Danger. Run." My instincts were right. Studio microphone. You're listening to Having a Baby with the Villain, only on Heli's Audio English. James, back when he was just a boy, quietly walked down to the river. He scooped up a handful of cold water and splashed it on his face before returning to me. His once round and chubby face had already started changing, becoming more like a teenager's. His gaze was cold, but clear. With his head down, I could see his long, thick lashes. His lips were pressed into a firm line, obedient, quiet. But the cut across the bridge of his nose gave him a strange, striking kind of beauty. Honestly, no one in the novel ever mentioned that the villain would grow up to be this handsome. Sure, he was good-looking. But that didn't change his fate. Doomed to be the villain. To die broken and alone. Who would want to get close to that? His voice was low and raspy. "Could I borrow some money?" "Excuse me? Did I hear that right? From the dreamy prince to a walking ATM? What kind of character arc is this?" Yep, modern girls truly are something else. The villain lowered his head and nudged a pebble near his foot. I just need a little. I'll pay you back." His eyes turned red with frustration. He clutched at the sleeve of his shirt nervously. It felt serious. I sighed and handed him a $10 bill. "Make sure you pay me back. And with interest." "Do you know what interest is?" "I may have a fortune in my name, but budgeting is budgeting. Only with self-control can wealth last." "Thank you." Young James took the money with both hands, a little embarrassed. Then he looked up and smiled. Just for a second, but it was bright and genuine. The gloom on his face vanished, and in that moment he looked like a sunny, happy kid. Sigh. In just over 10 years, that innocent boy would turn into a cold, obsessive man. "What are you thinking about?" Suddenly, the grown-up James leaned in, way too close. He was so handsome I nearly forgot to breathe. "I was wondering whether you'd pay me back," I muttered. $10. Compound interest. Over 10 years. That could be a fortune. Might even boost me into the next tax bracket. James blinked, speechless. He just drove in silence. Studio microphone. You're listening to Heli's Audio English. Inside the quiet car, a strange ringtone began to play. I instantly reached for the screen and declined the call. In the villain's car? A mystery phone call? Unless I had a death wish, there was no way I was answering that. Why didn't you pick up? Just a spam call. The name that had flashed on the screen? Julian Hayes. James pulled over. His strong hand tapped twice on the steering wheel. Silent. Cold. Pick it up. You want me to step outside and give you some privacy? He asked quietly, smiling. That slow, dangerous villain smile. The kind that chilled you to your bones. The very next day, news spread like wildfire. Hayes Corp was bankrupt. Julian Hayes, the so-called male lead, had officially decided it was my last day on Earth. I picked up the next call and immediately got blasted. If you don't show up at the office tomorrow, don't bother coming back. According to the original plot, I was still supposed to work as his assistant. But given how messed up things were already, I had slept with the villain. Why on earth should I still waste time doing this pointless side mission? In the beginning, I played the part of the love-struck fool. I worked for Julian Hayes as his secretary for 6 long months. Woke up earlier than chickens. Slept later than the street dogs. And Julian? An absolute jerk. He didn't pay me properly. Didn't even sign a contract. Took advantage of my one-sided crush like it was nothing. Disgusting. You just wait, Julian Hayes. You'll be hearing from my lawyer. I slammed the phone down and blocked his number without hesitation. James chuckled softly. His expression was as icy as ever, but there was definite amusement behind his eyes. Who knew villains could take joy in other people's misfortunes too? I know a few excellent lawyers, he said calmly. I can introduce you. James moved quickly. By the time the night ended, he had already sent me the WeChat contact of a top lawyer. As if afraid I'd change my mind or back out last minute. I had just added the contact. And then suddenly, a message popped up. From Julian Hayes. Are you trying to start something with me? I replied with one word, idiot. Then calmly deleted his contact. Seconds later, 2 new messages arrived. On that night, you were with James Thornton the entire time, weren't you? Guess what'll happen if he finds out? You think you'll live to see the sunrise tomorrow? The moment I read that, I was already packing my suitcase. I kissed my adoptive mom goodbye. Mom, I'll be leaving tonight. Don't wait up. No one knew James Thornton better than I did. Once the villain snapped, even ashes wouldn't be left behind. It was nearly midnight when I arrived at the airport. The main hall was quiet, only a few people fleeing their lives in silence. I was just about to buy my ticket when I saw someone running toward me in a panic. Messy hair, unsteady steps. It was James's mother. Now that was rare. She was the most elegant woman in all of City C, always impeccably dressed and poised. But right now, she looked frantic. Mom? What's wrong? Her eyes were wet with tears. She was trembling, frightened, almost breathless as she pushed me toward the security gate. Nia, listen to me, James. James, something's happened. Whatever you do, go far away. Don't let him find you. The plane took off. And I still had no idea what had just happened. This story had suddenly turned into a mystery novel. I settled down temporarily in a lovely little city. Using the compensation I received from Julian for violating labor laws, I hired a housekeeper named Mary and started living a peaceful life. I wasn't just living well. I embraced a bright, optimistic mindset. Kept up with domestic and international news. Educated myself. Took care of my health. Recent headlines were juicy. Julian Hayes had been exposed. My labor dispute had gone viral, damaging his image and shaking the company's reputation. Shareholders were furious. Julian was now under fire. Probably raging, desperate to find someone to take it out on. He even messaged me at midnight through WeChat. James Thornton is looking for you everywhere. Do you really think you can hide forever? You probably don't even know how he reacted when I told him you were pregnant with his child. I blocked that noisy man immediately. Please, Julian never knew when to shut up. James's reaction? Well, I could imagine it. My dear little sister, would you prefer to die by fire, drowning, or slow suffocation? I gently rubbed my belly. My baby, your father is a certified lunatic. You'll need to inherit your mom's good looks and intelligence, okay? Yes. I didn't go through with the abortion. After several tests, the doctor concluded my body was too weak to handle the procedure safely. In the end, I had to keep the baby. Since then, every night I read through the 24 core socialist values as part of prenatal education. No joke, my baby already knew about integrity and social harmony. The child was obedient and never caused me trouble. But I couldn't deny it hurt my love life. Take, for example, the handsome mixed-race guy who lived next door. He radiated charm, totally out of place in this dusty little town. Every time he saw me, he'd blush and lower his eyes to my belly. Then his expression would turn quietly sad. One day, I came back from a checkup and saw him waiting downstairs. Next to him stood Mrs. Huang, our friendly landlady. She grabbed my hand, full of enthusiasm. "You're still so young, sweetheart. Have you ever thought about finding a new dad for your baby?" The handsome neighbor's face turned bright red. He spoke in broken Chinese, clumsy but sweet. Miss Carter helped me learn Mandarin before. And I think I fell for her honesty and beauty. I remembered. The only reason I started teaching that handsome neighbor Mandarin was to earn some milk money. I taught him for half a month. But man, was he slow. He kept asking the same questions again and again, over and over. Eventually, I got so frustrated that I asked Mary, my housekeeper, to politely tell him not to come back anymore. Then one day, out of nowhere, he looked me in the eye and said, "Miss Carter, would you let me take care of you? And your baby too?" The moment those words left his lips, the baby inside my belly gave me a few solid kicks. Apparently, someone was excited about the idea of getting a new daddy. Studio microphone. You're listening to Heli's Audio English. Mr. Song owns several luxury villas, said Mrs. Huang, our landlady, with a sly wink. He's wealthy and, well, I've heard he's quite capable in other ways too. I nearly choked. It took me a second to find my voice. Let's not, okay? My ex and my ex-crush were both stingy jerks. I didn't think I'd find a new man this fast. And if I do, the last one's probably going to kill him. Mr. Song, aka my formerly shy, handsome neighbor, looked visibly disappointed. "Then, can I at least treat you to dinner?" he asked, cheeks red. This time, please don't say no. I couldn't bring myself to reject him. Knowing I couldn't drink, he specially ordered fresh fruit juice just for me. So thoughtful. I patted my belly and smiled. "My little one, be good. Once you're born, mommy will get you a brand new daddy." I gave the juice a swirl. It really tasted quite nice. "That orange flavor covers the sedative so well, doesn't it?" he said, grinning. His Mandarin was shockingly perfect. Even better than mine. Damn it, everything went black. When I came to, I was tied up like a dumpling, arms and legs bound, mouth stuffed with a filthy rag. The room was cold and pitch dark. The smell, the air. It felt like a basement. A disgusting one. "Ah, you're awake," came a familiar voice. Ethan Song lit a cigarette with shaking fingers. He tilted his head and looked at me, that gentle smile now twisted, completely different from the shy guy the first once knew. He'd been pretending. A good actor, I'll give him that. I groaned through the cloth gag. He leaned forward and yanked it out. "Something to say, Miss Carter?" "Put out the cigarette. I'm pregnant, and you're smoking? What kind of trash has no basic public manners?" Appealing to his morals clearly didn't work. Ethan grinned, then tightened his grip on my jaw. "Save your breath, princess. You'll need that little life of yours, to earn us some money." A voice barked from the shadows. One of his cronies. "Don't rough her up. We still need her alive." Ethan sighed and finally put out the cigarette. He looked at me with mocking eyes. "You really are something, Miss Carter. All brave and noble. But tell me, in James Thornton's eyes, how much are you even worth?" Then he pressed the tip of his boot against my belly. Slowly, increasing pressure, his eyes glinting with menace. "I wonder, how much this baby is worth to him?" So that was it. They were using me to blackmail James. "Well," I said through clenched teeth, pain pulsing from my abdomen. "Then you've badly miscalculated." I forced my voice to stay calm. "James hates me so much he'd probably pay you to kill me." "Using me to threaten him? You're wasting your time." They ignored me and started arguing over ransom amounts. "Call him now," Ethan barked. Moments passed. No answer. Ethan's brows furrowed. Call again. With all the guards around her, I don't believe James would just sit back while the woman he loves is suffering. Wait, the woman he loves? Was he talking about me? Still no answer? Ethan snapped. And that's the end of part 1. Thank you for listening to Heli's Audio English. Stay tuned, because part 2 is where everything truly begins.